The morning sky above Earth turned dark as shadows fell across every continent. People stopped their daily work and looked up in fear. A massive alien ship had appeared above the planet, bigger than any mountain they had ever seen. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of Earth's largest warship, the UES Defiance. He was a tall man with gray hair and steady hands that had fought in many battles. Through the thick glass windows, he watched the alien ship hover in space like a metal moon. The alien ship began to send messages. The words came through every radio, every television, and every computer on Earth. The voice was cold and spoke perfect English, but everyone knew it was not human. "People of Earth," the voice said. "We are the Galactic Council. We rule over 1,000 worlds across the galaxy. Today we give you our final demand." Jake Morrison felt his heart beat faster. He had been a soldier for 30 years, but he had never faced anything like this. The alien voice continued, "You must follow our laws. You must give us all your weapons. You must let us control all human colonies in space. You have 30 days to agree, or we will destroy your world like we destroyed others who refused us." The message ended, and silence filled the bridge. Young Lieutenant Ben Carter, the Admiral's aide, spoke first. "Sir, what do we do now?" Admiral Morrison did not answer right away. He looked at Earth below, where billions of people lived and worked and loved. He thought about his wife Mary and his 2 children. He thought about all the families who trusted him to protect them. "We call the President," he said finally. President Lisa Carter was in her office when the call came. She was a strong woman in her 50s with short brown hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had been a teacher before becoming a politician, and she still believed that every problem had a solution if you were smart enough to find it. Within an hour, the most important people in Earth's government sat around a long table in a secret room deep underground. The room had no windows and thick metal walls that could survive a nuclear war. General Pete Hayes was the first to speak. He was an old soldier with white hair and many scars from past battles. "Madam President, we have to surrender. Their ship alone is bigger than our entire fleet. They have technology we cannot fight against." Secretary of Defense Amy Foster shook her head. She was younger than the general, with red hair and a quick mind that never gave up easily. "We cannot just give up without trying. What kind of message does that send to every human colony in space?" Dr. Kevin Phillips adjusted his thick glasses and opened a folder marked with red letters that meant "Top Secret." He was the smartest scientist on Earth, but he looked nervous as he spoke. "I have been working on something," he said quietly. "For 2 years my team has been studying quantum physics. We found a way to change the basic forces that hold matter together." President Carter leaned forward. "Explain that in simple words, Doctor." "We can make enemy ships fall apart by changing how their atoms stick together, but we have never tested it on something as big as their ship." The room became very quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. Earth had a weapon that might work, but they did not know for sure. Captain Ryan Bell sat at the far end of the table. He was a young man with black hair and quick reflexes who commanded Earth's fastest ship. He had grown up poor in the city, and he knew how to fight when the odds were against him. "What do you need from me?" he asked. President Carter looked around, the table at each person. "We need 30 days to prepare. Captain Bell, I want you to take your ship and watch their movements. Stay hidden, but learn everything you can about their weaknesses." "Yes, ma'am." "Dr. Phillips, how long do you need to prepare your quantum weapon?" The scientist thought for a moment. "If we work day and night, maybe we can have it ready in 3 weeks." "General Hayes, even if you think we should surrender, I need you to prepare our regular forces. Make them ready to fight." The old general nodded slowly. "I will do my duty, Madam President, but I still think this is a mistake." "Secretary Foster, I want you to start secret talks with the aliens. Make them think we might surrender. Buy us time to prepare." Amy Foster smiled for the first time that day. "I can do that." President Carter stood up, and everyone else stood too. "Ladies and gentlemen, Earth has faced many challenges before. We survived ice ages, wars, and diseases. We learned to fly and to travel to the stars. We did all of this because humans never give up when someone tries to control us." She walked, to a large map on the wall that showed Earth and all the human colonies in nearby star systems. 37 billion humans live on these worlds. They trust us to protect their freedom. We will not let them down. That night, Captain Bell's ship, the UES Shadow, left Earth's orbit quietly. It was painted black and used special technology to hide from enemy sensors. As they moved toward the alien fleet, Bell's crew prepared for the most dangerous mission of their lives. Back on Earth, Dr. Phillips worked in his laboratory with a team of the best scientists humanity had ever produced. They knew that millions of lives depended on their success. The quantum weapon existed only in theory, but they had to make it real in just a few weeks. Meanwhile, Secretary Foster began sending messages to the alien ship, asking for meetings to discuss surrender terms. She acted scared and defeated, but inside she felt only anger at these creatures who thought they could enslave humanity. The Galactic Council believed they had won before the battle even started. They had defeated hundreds of other species using the same method: show overwhelming force, give an ultimatum, and wait for surrender. But they had never met humans before. They did not understand that humans had spent their entire history fighting against anyone who tried to control them. They did not know that humans would rather die free than live as slaves. As the first week passed, Earth prepared for war while pretending to prepare for surrender. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, and only 30 days remained to save their world. The second week began with Secretary Foster sending a message to the alien ship. She sat in a small room with bright lights and cameras, trying to look defeated and scared. Her hands shook a little as she spoke, but it was all an act. "Great Council," she said, looking down at the floor. "We humans are a simple people. We do not want to fight. Please tell us what we must do to live in peace." The alien response came quickly. A tall, gray creature appeared on the screen. It had large, black eyes and no hair, and when it spoke, its voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. "You will remove all weapons from your ships," the creature said. "You will give us control of your colonies. You will teach your children to obey Council law. If you do this, some of you may continue to exist." Secretary Foster bowed her head. "We understand. But 30 days is not much time for such big changes. Could we have more time to prepare?" The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. 30 days is more than you deserve. Many species surrender in hours when they see our power." After the call ended, Foster smiled. The aliens believed humans were weak and frightened. This was exactly what Earth needed them to think. While Foster played her role, the real work began in secret places around the world. In a deep underground base in Colorado, Dr. Phillips worked with 50 of Earth's best scientists. They had not slept much in 7 days. Coffee cups and empty food containers covered every table in the laboratory. "The quantum field generator is working," said Dr. Susan Clark, Phillips's assistant. She was a young woman with messy hair and tired eyes, but her mind was sharp as a knife. "We can change the forces that hold atoms together, but only for a few seconds." Dr. Phillips nodded. "A few seconds might be enough. If we can make their ship's hull lose strength for just a moment, the pressure from inside will tear it apart." "But, sir," said another scientist, a man named Dr. Robert Kim, "we do not know what their ships are made of. What if our weapon does not work on their materials?" "Then we will all die," Phillips said simply. "But if we do nothing, we will die anyway. At least this way we have a chance." In orbit around Earth, something else was happening that the aliens could not see. Commander Kate Miller floated inside a small construction ship, watching as workers built what looked like communication towers on metal platforms. "How many more do we need?" asked Lieutenant Jim Walsh, her second in command. 12 more, Kate replied. "When we are done, we will have 24 platforms around Earth. The aliens think these are surrender beacons, but each one hides a railgun that can shoot metal projectiles at nearly the speed of light." The workers moved carefully in their spacesuits. One mistake could kill them all, but they worked fast. Earth needed these weapons ready in 3 weeks. Far from Earth, Captain Bell's ship, the Shadow, floated near an asteroid field. They had been watching the alien fleet for 8 days, learning everything they could. "Captain," said his sensor officer, a woman named Lisa Park, "I am seeing something strange. The alien ships are not just waiting. They are moving into attack positions. Bell looked at the display screen. Red dots showed where each alien ship was located. They were forming a circle around Earth, but not the kind of circle used for protecting something. This was the kind of circle used for destroying something completely. They are planning to attack no matter what we do, Bell said quietly. Even if we surrender, they will still destroy our world. His communications officer, Sergeant Mike Torres, looked up from his station. Sir, should we tell Earth Command? Not yet, Bell said. First, I want to know how many ships they have and what weapons they carry. We need to learn their weaknesses. The Shadow moved closer to the alien fleet, using its stealth technology to stay hidden. What they discovered made Bell's blood run cold. The aliens had not brought just one ship to threaten Earth. Hidden behind the big ship were 50 smaller warships, each one carrying enough firepower to destroy a city. Back on Earth, Colonel Danny Brooks was in charge of a different kind of preparation. He stood in the command center of the North American Space Defense watching as hundreds of people worked at computer stations. How many civilians have we moved to the underground shelters? He asked Major Carol Adams, his aide. 2 million so far, she replied. But that is only the people in the biggest cities. We cannot move everyone without the aliens noticing. Brooks nodded. It was a terrible choice, but they had to prepare for war while pretending to prepare for surrender. Focus on moving the children and the people who run our power plants and hospitals. If we survive this, we will need them to rebuild. Meanwhile, in space stations around Earth's solar system, other preparations were taking place. Commander Tony Scott led a group of the fastest human ships as they practiced new fighting techniques. They knew they could not match the aliens' powerful weapons, so they had to be smarter. Remember, Scott told his pilots over the radio, we are not trying to destroy their big ships. We are trying to confuse them and create openings for our secret weapons to work. The pilots practiced flying in patterns that made no sense to normal military thinking. They would attack from one direction, then quickly move to attack from another direction. It looked random, but it was carefully planned to keep the enemy confused. As the second week ended, humans around the world worked harder than they had ever worked before. In secret factories, they built weapons. In hidden laboratories, they tested new technologies. In training centers, they prepared for the fight of their lives. The aliens watched Earth and saw what they expected to see, a frightened planet getting ready to surrender. They did not know that under the surface, humanity was preparing the biggest surprise in galactic history. On the morning of the 30th day, President Carter stood before cameras in the United Nations building. Leaders from every country on Earth sat behind her. The whole world watched as she prepared to give humanity's answer to the Galactic Council. The alien ship waited in space above, expecting words of surrender. But President Carter had different words to speak. People of Earth and people of the galaxy, she began, her voice clear and strong. Today, the Galactic Council demanded that we surrender our freedom. They told us to give up our weapons and accept their control over our lives. She paused and looked directly into the camera. Our answer is no. The words echoed around the world and across space. In the alien ship, the council members could not believe what they had heard. No species had ever refused their final demand. The council claims the right to rule over free people, President Carter continued. But no one has the right to take away another person's freedom. We humans choose to remain free, and we will help any other species that makes the same choice. Thoreau. Alien Commander, a tall creature with gray skin and black eyes, appeared on screens across Earth. His voice was full of anger. You have made a terrible mistake. We will destroy your world as an example to others who might think of defying us. President Carter smiled. You can try. High above Earth, Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of the Defiance. Around him, his crew waited for orders they had practiced 100 times. All units, this is Admiral Morrison. He spoke into his communicator. Execute Plan Freedom. Suddenly, space around Earth came alive with activity. The 24 platforms that looked like surrender beacons opened up like metal flowers. Inside each one was a massive railgun that had been built in secret over the past 3 weeks. Commander Kate Miller, floating in the control station of Platform Alpha, watched her screens as target information appeared. All platforms, this is Miller. We have targets locked, firing in 10 seconds. The aliens had positioned their fleet in a circle around Earth, thinking they were safe from any human weapons. They were wrong. 24 railguns fired at the same moment. Metal projectiles, each one the size of a small car, shot toward the alien ships at nearly the speed of light. The aliens had strong shields that could stop energy weapons, but they had never seen kinetic weapons this powerful. The first projectile hit the alien flagship's shield. The shield held for half a second, then shattered like glass. The metal projectile tore through the ship's hull and explosions bloomed along its massive length. "Direct hit on the flagship," shouted Kate Miller, firing second volley. But the aliens were not helpless. Their smaller ships began shooting back with energy weapons that could melt mountains. Beams of red light lanced toward Earth's orbital platforms. "Platform 7 is hit," came a voice over the radio. "We're losing power." "Platform 12 is gone," reported another voice. Admiral Morrison watched the battle from the Defiance. "All ships move to attack positions, cover the platforms." Earth's warships, small compared to the alien vessels, swarmed toward the enemy fleet like angry bees. They could not match the aliens' powerful weapons, but they were faster and harder to hit. In his secret laboratory, Dr. Phillips watched readings on his computer screen. The quantum disruptor was ready, but he had to time it perfectly. "Dr. Clark," he called to his assistant, "are all the field generators in position?" "Yes, sir," Susan Clark replied, her hands moving quickly over her controls. "We have generators hidden on asteroids throughout the solar system. When we activate them all at once, they will create a quantum field that covers the entire battle area." "And you are sure this will work?" "No, sir," she said honestly. "But if it does work, every alien ship in the field will lose hull integrity for about 10 seconds. Phillips took a deep breath. "Then let's find out. Activate the quantum disruptor." Around the solar system, hidden generators began to work. They sent out invisible waves that traveled at the speed of light, changing the basic forces that held matter together. The effect was immediate and devastating. The hulls of every alien ship began to lose strength. Metal that had been harder than diamond became as weak as paper. Inside the alien flagship, emergency alarms screamed as the hull began to crack. The ship's commander could not understand what was happening. "Damage report," he shouted. "Sir, our hull is failing everywhere at once," replied his officer. "It's like the metal is forgetting how to be strong." At that moment, Captain Bell's ship, the Shadow, appeared from behind Earth's moon where it had been hiding. Behind him came 12 more human ships that had been waiting for this exact moment. "All ships, this is Bell," he said calmly. "The enemy hulls are weakened. Hit them with everything we have." The human ships fired missiles and energy weapons at the alien fleet. Normally, these weapons would barely scratch the alien ships' strong hulls. But with their hulls weakened by the quantum field, the alien ships tore apart like wet paper. The largest alien ship, the one that had threatened to destroy Earth, split in half. Explosions ran along its length as internal systems failed. Secondary explosions lit up space like fireworks. "Impossible!" screamed the alien commander as his ship died around him. "How can such a primitive species defeat us?" But other alien ships were already trying to escape. They had come to Earth expecting an easy victory over a weak enemy. Instead, they found themselves fighting for their lives against weapons they had never seen before. Commander Tony Scott's squadron chased the fleeing aliens, making sure none escaped to warn other Council fleets. "This is Scott to all pursuit. Units, do not let any alien ship reach hyperspace. We need to keep this battle secret as long as possible." The battle lasted only 6 hours, but it changed everything. When the last alien ship was destroyed or captured, space around Earth was filled with wreckage that had once been the pride of the Galactic Council. President Carter's voice reached across the galaxy as she spoke from the bridge of the captured alien flagship. "To all species under Council rule, you have seen what happened here today. The Council is not unbeatable. Their ships can be destroyed. Their threats can be answered with strength." She paused, looking at the camera that would carry her words to 1,000 worlds. Earth offers friendship to any species that chooses freedom over slavery. Together we can build a galaxy where no one rules over others by force. The message spread through galactic communication networks like wildfire. On planets across the galaxy, oppressed species heard Earth's words and began to hope for the first time in centuries. The news of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Within hours of the battle, every species in the Galactic Council's territory had heard the impossible story. Humans, a species that had only discovered space travel a few hundred years ago, had destroyed an entire council fleet. On the planet Altair Prime, a blue-skinned alien named Zekra watched the human president's message for the 10th time. He was the leader of his people, and for 50 years he had dreamed of freedom from council rule. Now, for the first time, that dream seemed possible. "Send a message to Earth," he told his assistant. "Tell them the Altarian Republic wishes to join their alliance." Similar scenes played out on dozens of worlds. The Vegan Mining Consortium, which had been forced to give most of their valuable minerals to the Council, announced they would no longer pay tribute. The ocean world of Aquatica declared independence and asked Earth for protection, but the Council's response was swift and angry. On the Council's capital world of Prima Dominion, the High Council met in emergency session. These were the most powerful beings in the galaxy, creatures who had ruled over 1,000 species for millennia. The Supreme Chancellor, an ancient being with tentacles instead of arms, slammed his communication device on the table. "This cannot be allowed to continue," he roared. "If we let these humans inspire rebellion, our entire empire will fall apart." Council General Vorth, a massive creature covered in thick armor, agreed. "We must gather our full military force and destroy not just Earth, but every world that has declared independence. We will make an example that will last for 1,000 years." Within days, the Council began calling back their fleets from across the galaxy. They ordered their most powerful weapons to be prepared. The message was clear. They would rather destroy half the galaxy than lose control of it. But something had changed in the galaxy. Species that had been afraid for centuries were no longer afraid. When Council ships arrived at rebel worlds to demand surrender, they found those worlds ready to fight. On Earth, President Carter met with her War Council every day. The room was always full of activity as reports came in from across the galaxy. 47 worlds have declared independence so far, reported Secretary Foster, reading from a long list. 12 more are asking for Earth's help to build defense systems. Admiral Morrison studied a star map on the wall. Red dots showed Council-controlled worlds, while blue dots showed the growing rebellion. The Council is pulling back their fleets to protect their core worlds. That gives us time to help the rebels organize. Dr. Phillips entered the room carrying a thick folder. He looked tired but excited. "Madam President, we have been studying the alien technology from the ships we captured. Their quantum computers are incredible, but we found something interesting in their databases." "What did you find, Doctor?" President Carter asked. "The Council has ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years, Phillips explained. But they are not as strong as they pretend to be. Most of their power comes from fear, not from actual military strength. They have been using the same trick for centuries. Show overwhelming force to one species, destroy them completely, and let fear keep the others in line." President Carter understood immediately. "But we broke that pattern. We showed that they can be defeated." "Exactly. And now their own records show us something else. They have enemies even within their own territory, species that pretend to be loyal, but are actually waiting for a chance to rebel." Captain Bell, who had been promoted to Commodore after the battle, spoke up. "What do you need from us, Madam President?" "I want you to visit these rebel worlds," she said. "Take our best teachers and engineers with you. Show them how to build the weapons that defeated the Council fleet. Help them prepare for war." Over the following weeks, Earth's fastest ships traveled to dozens of worlds. Commodore Bell found himself teaching alien engineers how to build railguns. Commander Miller showed rebel forces how to use quantum disruptors. The knowledge that had saved Earth began to spread throughout the galaxy. On the mining world of Kepler 7, An insect-like alien named Click-Thack watched as human engineers helped his people build their first quantum disruptor. "Will this really work against council ships?" he asked through a translation device. "It worked for us," replied the human engineer, a woman named Carol White. "But remember, the weapon is only part of the answer. The real power comes from people who refuse to give up their freedom." Meanwhile, Dr. Phillips worked on Earth's next surprise. In his laboratory, he studied alien technology day and night. "The Council's ships all use the same basic design," he told Dr. Clark. "If we can find a weakness in one ship, we can use it against all their ships." "What kind of weakness?" she asked. "Their power systems all connect to a central core. If we can overload that core, the entire ship will lose power. I think we can do it with a focused quantum pulse." As Earth prepared for the larger war that was coming, President Carter received visitors from across the galaxy. Her office became a meeting place for leaders of rebel worlds. She met with crystal beings from the Andromeda sector, gas cloud creatures from the spiral arm, and machine intelligences from the outer rim. "We all want the same thing," she told them during one meeting. "The right to live our lives without someone else controlling us. The right to make our own choices and follow our own dreams." A tall, thin alien with silver skin raised one of his forearms. "But the Council has weapons we have never seen. They have ships that can destroy planets." President Carter nodded. "They do have powerful weapons. But we have something they do not understand. We have the desire to be free, and that desire makes us willing to fight even when the odds are against us." She stood up and walked to the window that looked out at Earth's blue sky. "The Council thinks that fear is the strongest force in the galaxy. But they are wrong. Hope is stronger than fear. Love is stronger than hate. And the desire for freedom is stronger than any weapon." As the meeting ended, the alien leaders left with new confidence. They had seen what humans could do when they refused to surrender. Now they would take that knowledge back to their own worlds. 3 months after the battle, the galaxy was a different place. The rebellion had grown from 47 worlds to over 200. The Council still controlled most of the galaxy, but their control was no longer absolute. On Earth, children played games about the Great Space Battle. Artists painted pictures of human ships fighting alien monsters. Poets wrote songs about the day Earth said no to tyranny. But President Carter knew the real war was just beginning. The Council would not give up easily, and they had weapons that could destroy entire star systems. The next battle would be bigger and more dangerous than anything humanity had ever faced. Still, as she looked up at the stars each night, she felt hope. Somewhere out there, on hundreds of worlds, people who had been slaves were learning to be free. And that, she knew, was worth any price they might have to pay.